Talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. It's in Mula Nakshatra. It's a time to connect with what inspires you. But first we need to uproot the darkness, plant those seeds of truth. A lot going on right now, so check it out. So talking about the new moon on early Sunday morning, it's going to be in Mula Nakshatra. So Mula is ruled by the goddess Niriti, who is related to Kali, and it shows this kind of transformative, kind of destruction energy. The sun is getting very close to exact conjunction with Saturn, right on the plane of the galaxy, right at the galactic core. This is the very transformative section of the zodiac, and we have this new moon there at about 2 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, this is, you know, it's obviously getting close to the solstice point as well, about a week away from the solstice, or, you know, close to that. And so a lot of energies coming together, and this new moon, again, it starts the Sagittarius cycle. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so it's about guru, teachers, higher, you know, wisdom and philosophies. So those things will be important for the next 30 days. And, you know, it's really a time to pull out by the roots those things and ideas and concepts that are fearful and dark and scary and tamasic and maybe leave us a little paranoid. Those are the qualities of Scorpio, and so we want to be aware of that, and know that even though we have this new moon in Sagittarius, you know, whereas Sagittarius, you know, has those higher qualities, those more enlightened and light qualities, the first part of it is to go into the darkness and pull out by the roots those dark places. So again, Mula, the nakshatra Mula means root, and roots and planting seeds. So this is a new moon of planting seeds, a new cycle of growth and fertility and also destruction. If we want to plant seeds and grow flowers, we need to weed the garden. We need to destroy and uproot what's on the surface, break it up, and then plant the seeds in the soil. So this is a big lesson of this new moon in Sagittarius. Definitely a time to connect with your teachers, your gurus, higher wisdom, and not just, you know, preach it or walk the talk, but to go down into the depths and, you know, find the truth and be real with yourself and get in integrity, get in alignment. You know, I've been talking, you know, quite a bit recently, even in the last several months, or, you know, about how things are so out of alignment, so out of integrity. You know, we live in this culture now where there's so much bad information, so much false information, where, you know, even online, you know, I should say even online, maybe especially online, you know, we're seduced by entertainers more than scholars, right? Because, you know, information and what have you has been so democratized, we don't find authentic teachings and authentic wisdom these days. We find this sort of counterfeit version that's, you know, easy to digest and, you know, takes us about this deep, and then we're on to the next thing, and we're like, you know, and it's more driven, again, by sort of celebrity or likability or someone who's photogenic or handsome or, you know, good looking or something. Someone who we enjoy looking at because we enjoy looking at them. You know, we listen to what they say and kind of think, oh, you're so amazing, and most of it has nothing to do even with what they're saying, if it's a level of scholarship. You know, true teaching and true wisdom is going to rattle us a little bit. It's going to disrupt our thinking. It's going to shake us out of our comfort zone at times. It's going to be more of a challenge because we're going to have to sort of grow into it. And, you know, instead, you know, it's much easier to sort of, you know, be susceptible and prone to the counterfeit, you know, version of wisdom in this world, or the counterfeit version of most everything. You know, most anything, just like fast food, it's kind of like counterfeit food. You know, most food is not fast. If it's fast food, it's probably just empty carbs and calories and no nutrition. And this is what substitutes and masquerades for teaching as well these days. I'm saying this because this is the new moon in Sagittarius, which is about getting in alignment with our higher teachings. And now that Saturn is in Sagittarius, Saturn is trying to restore integrity, trying to install commitment, duty, you know, reverence for truth, for sacred teachings, for, you know, the purity and the time-worn and the time-tested tradition that shows an amalgam of scholarship and diversity of opinion, and those kinds of things are what make for a, you know, course of study or a science or a methodology that is worth investigating. And it's been no surprise, you know, that I'm also talking about how some of this has influenced the Vedic astrology world, especially as it relates to the zodiac issues that are just still, that just have really clogged up a lot of the scholarship. There's nothing open and open-minded and freewheeling and modern about getting it wrong. You know, every one of these books, every one of these books said to use the sidereal zodiac to calculate the horoscope. Every one. Again, and yet people can just say, oh, but I do this, it's my system and I do this, and you get people to buy it, to buy into it. That's one version, but you see it all over the place. And again, this is the Sagittarius theme, and Saturn going through Sagittarius is really this challenge for us to restore integrity to teaching, especially to sacred traditions, to really understand them on a deeper level, and not just fall into the kind of fast food, you know, trivial kind of, oh, but who knows, oh, that person is so this or that, or whatever it is. And I'm not just saying in astrology. I see it all over the place. Also in Western astrology, you have the same kinds of things in all kinds of, you know, spiritual, quote, spiritual traditions now. It's like someone goes to a workshop and they're suddenly a healer or an expert in this, or you know, the goddess temple worship, where it's like people aren't even, you know, because they're photogenic and they have a lot of Instagram or, you know, YouTube followers. It's like, okay, you're the expert. And especially if you package it in some kind of fun, friendly, you know, here I am, wacky something, or whatever it is. And so, you know, this is a big thing that we're dealing with in culture now that we need to look at. And so this new moon in Sagittarius joins Saturn. So we have moon very close to Saturn in Sagittarius. In Mula Nakshatra we have, you know, Sun, Moon, Saturn in Mula, trying to uproot all of that dark, weird stuff and plant those seeds of truth, those Sagittarian seeds of truth, so that we can restore integrity to our teachings, to our sacred traditions, and to, again, be focused and committed to what inspires us. There could be some pretty dark moves in the next week or so. When I'm looking at the political landscape here in the U.S., there's been some pretty dark things that just happened in the U.S. politics. I'll just talk about it for a second. One is that net neutrality law, which you're not hearing talked about as much as it should be. And this is a big dark move, a big dark power play And so people think, oh, it'll get overturned. Actually, people thought that after Trump was elected. Oh, don't worry, he's not in office yet. What are you talking about? Overturning an election? It's a pretty big deal. This FCC rule, it's a matter of, you know, partisan vote. It's going to have to be either overturned by the Supreme Court or by the Congress. The Congress doesn't seem to want to act. It's dominated by Republicans. And who knows what the Supreme Court's going to say. They're heavily tilted Republican as well. The way it's going to come about is going to be citizens rising up and saying, well, no, we're not going to take this. This is so unpopular. The citizens do not want this. The internet companies do not want this. The only ones who want that are the ones who control the internet coming into your house, are the ISPs, the big, you know, Comcast, AT&T, Spectrum. They're the ones that want it because it gives them the license to pretty much do what they want. This is, you know, as an example, you're also seeing some pretty dark moves happening on the political sphere with regard to, you know, the Republicans in the Congress making overtures that the special prosecutor Mueller should be fired, just really thumping this now. And if Trump does, if he fires Mueller, boy, you'll see what happens then. Some very potentially chaotic, dangerous, transformative times this next month. Politically, socially, particularly with Mars and Jupiter also very closely joined in Libra. They're not joined by exact degree. That happens early next year. I actually talked about this in my 2018 forecast, which you should get if you didn't get it yet. As Mars, Jupiter get exact, like I think it's January 3rd or 4th next year, but they're still both in Libra. So Mars, Jupiter, and Libra is showing this social chaos and unrest. I talked about this in last year's forecast, that the end of this year would be major. And again, of course, Sun, Saturn on the galactic plane in Mula Nakshatra, and this new moon going to be really setting off, especially a couple weeks of some pretty intense stuff in the world, maybe in your world, in the political world, social world. And so some pretty heavy stuff going on, but you know, it's time that people stand up and be accountable for where they stand in these kind of issues, you know. And as I say, especially in my world, as it relates to standing for the dignity and sanctity of the truth of, like, these astrological teachings or of yogic teachings. And by the way, I know a lot of people who lament this, not just in the astrology world, in the yoga world, in the Ayurveda world, in the world of, like, you know, authentic, like, Jungian counseling and therapy and other kinds of teachings. This kind of, again, sort of selfie snacking culture of just everything on the surface, things not going deep, and this kind of surface misunderstanding, or this, like, these opinions masquerading as science and as fact is very detrimental to the traditions and to the sanctity of the pure teaching. So these are things to look for and to look out for in this next month. And again, that new moon happens early Sunday in the U.S., early in the morning on Sunday, and rest of the world it's probably later in the day on Sunday. So anyway, I hope this was helpful.